What is up, fellow members of the Doom Patrol? Man, it feels so good to say that because today we are breaking down the Doom Patrol Season 4 teaser trailer. Also, I'm going to be chucking in some extra details, plot teasers, character teasers, if you will, coming out of New York Comic Con because we had April Bowlby, Brendan Fraser, Javan Wade, and Michelle Gomez talking about their characters and what's coming in Season 4. So this is going to be a little bit of a mashup video. I hope you guys enjoy it. So first up, before we get into the actual teaser, how about the release date? So Doom Patrol Season 4 premieres Thursday, December 8th, which fits in nicely after Titan Season 4 ends their first 6 episodes on December 1st. So then a week after that, the Doom Patrol reviews will be starting here on the channel. I believe just like Titans, they are dropping 2 episodes on December 8th. And then, of course, the weekly release until January 5th. And then we're having a little bit of a break like Titans for then it return with the final 6 episodes. I'm not really complaining because I do like the idea, as much as I love the weekly release, carrying on the reviews and breakdowns, that we're having a little bit of a break. We see a few episodes and then I can release a few theory videos, speculations, Q&As, some engagement with you guys about what could be happening in the back half of Season 4. Just in case you forgot, this is the official synopsis we have so far for Doom Patrol Season 4. So Season 4 opens with the team unexpectedly traveling to the future to find an unwelcome surprise. Faced with their imminent demise, the Doom Patrol must decide once and for all which is more important, their own happiness or the fate of the world. Love the new logo, by the way. I think this could be my favorite logo of Doom Patrol out of any of the seasons prior, but let's get into this breakdown, or at least what I can make out from this breakdown. Like this video, by the way, if you are enjoying it and you go on to enjoy it. I'd really appreciate that. Helps boost this Doom Patrol video out there in the Doom Patrol algorithm and get some more Doomies in here. So thank you kindly if you have done that. And if not, I'll send Cliff Steele after you, or maybe actually one of the butts. And speaking of butts, that's what we get introduced to right away at the beginning of this teaser. When asked by Entertainment Weekly, where do we find the Doom Patrol at the beginning of Season 4, we have good old Javan Wade, of whom, by the way, I did do an interview with on the channel last season. I will leave that somewhere in the cards above if you feel like checking it out. But he said, you find the Doom Patrol in a space where finally we have made the decision by default that we have to sort of become a team. And we've been fighting that for the past 3.5 seasons. We're on a journey of actual time travel to something that is very unexpected and surprising, which lands us in a space where we have to decide what to do. Is it the fate of the world, or is it the fate of the Doom Patrol? And who knows what they'll decide. I mean, I think obviously at some point along the way, in a predictable sense, they're gonna like choose the fate of the world and try and save it from what I think could be the oncoming apocalypse. Is that a word I just invented? I don't know, probably is. But I'm sure along the way, certain characters, as we all know, as much as we love them, they're very flawed. So certain characters, maybe even like Cliff, might be a bit selfish at one point, being like, well, I don't care about that. I just want to get back to Clara and my grandson. So that could possibly be an example of how certain characters have to come to terms with maybe putting their own happiness aside, becoming a bit of a better human, working as a practice team to try and save the world from whatever this fate is. And it is an ambiguous fate, but I do have a couple of ideas. So going back to that footage at the beginning, we have the Bureau agent showing this new character, or new recruit, if you will, to the Butts. And I'm assuming that the previous recruit, or whomever's position she's taking over, possibly got butt munched, literally, by one of them. And he says, the project you'll be interfacing with is highly classified. Over a year ago, we conceived of a creature that could be bred as a weaponized force of nature. And I think those are the key words. They conceived of a creature that could be bred as a weaponized force of nature. I think that is where we're going to find the Doom Patrol after having traveled potentially into the future, that this weaponized force of nature quite literally got out of hand. So the Bureau have created a massive horde of butts that are quite literally munching on the world. Again, I could be wrong in that. It might not specifically be that, but I think it's around that area of things. And we get a few teasers of what that butt apocalypse could look like. But initially, it doesn't seem so bad because we have all the butts here singing and dancing in true Doom Patrol fashion. In this shot, we get a look at the Doom Patrol walking together. We see that Jane is still in that Dr. Harrison personality, of whom seems to be most prominent this season, which is following suit from how she is taken over as primary. So I think we're going to see quite a bit of her, although I'm quite looking forward to seeing how Jane navigates her way back to being primary, if at all. I mean, I say if at all, but I mean, surely she will. It's just, we're seeing quite a bit of Dr. Harrison footage, and I wonder what the politics, if you will, of the underground is going to be like. You may have noticed as well, in this lineup, we have Rita with a new freaking suit or costume. This is her superhero mode. We got the little R there, a beret. I think she looks fantastic. At the New York City Comic Con panel, April Bowlby got into how she's always looked for something that she belongs to define herself with, such as acting. But now this season, she is the leader, like the actual leader of the Doom Patrol. And you'll get to see that she gets a bit pushy and she wants to be a perfectionist about it. And the Doom Patrol kind of turn against her, believe it or not. And she's back to square one. Except we will find her progress into a true leader by the end of season 4. But again, I am looking forward to seeing a bit of a control freak Rita. April Bowlby went on to say that she's super stoked to be the leader. She also finds forgiveness, although punishes Madame Rouge quite a bit. And she also details how she thinks that in this season, Rita once again evolves, becomes that true leader. In the beginning, I think she's putting on airs a little bit, even though she doesn't know it. And by the end of this season, I think she really truly is grounded and is a true leader for everyone else and becomes what she's always hoped she would be. So that's really beautiful. And, you know, that's interesting to me because there's a bit of fan talk about, is this going to be the final season for Doom Patrol? I think in my gut that even though it might not be, like, I do want to put that out there, it really might not be. The same thing for Titans. Both seasons are probably going to put it in such a place where it could be an ending of sorts, and having the characters in a place where, for example, the Doom Patrol, as April Bowlby literally just mentioned, and how Rita by the end of this season is a true leader and becomes what she always hoped she would be, that could be a capping off point. And the same could be said for other characters, like Cliff trying to be just the best human that he could be. Same with Cyborg, etc., as we're going to get into with their comments on their characters. But that doesn't mean it has to end there. Writers can always come up with new material. I'm still sure that they're not going to be absolutely flawless, but long story short, I think both seasons are setting it up to be like, oh, okay, if it did end here, at least we know it's like this, and in our head canon, we can imagine them going on from here on out, even if no future seasons got made. But at the same time, if there is a renewed season for season 5 of Titans and Doom Patrol, well, let's put pen to paper and carry on the journey there. So fingers crossed for this season not being the last. Now, the next shot we get is of Larry with his negative baby turned negative spirit, if you guys remember, when he burst out of Doom Manor flying, which was awesome to see, but then he kind of face planted the floor. Here we have a little bit more interaction there between him and his, I guess, son in a way, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that being explored. Then we see Cyborg, and this is one of the most interesting parts of the clip for me, not only for Cyborg, but it's what I was teasing earlier with this futuristic but apocalypse situation. So here we see him with a face helmet on and kind of releasing a different version, more of a steampunky version of his sonic cannon here. But what's even more interesting is that we see our version of Vic, Cyborg if you will, after having the surgery to get rid of the cybernetics, which is why he has no cybernetic attachments to his face or anything like that. But the thing is, they're in the same room. If you look at this shot, we see Vic here trying to shield himself from one of these butt monsters coming at him. We see the other Cyborg in the background there. I'm pretty sure that is the behind shot from what we just saw a second ago of the Vic with the more steampunky-esque cybernetic look to him. So this is where things get timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly a little bit. I'm wondering, I don't know how they've conjured two cyborgs. I think maybe if they've traveled to the future, you might have the version of Vic who didn't travel to the future, who still has his cybernetics, but then we have our Vic who has traveled to the future and who went through that skin surgery, thus doesn't have the cybernetics, meeting his other version who didn't do all of it. I don't know, but then again, technically the version who had traveled to the future always did that in the first place. this is where writing for time travel gets very weird, very hard to actually do. So I would love to know your ideas here. What do you think is going on with Cyborg? Why are there two of them? Are they going to meet alternate versions of themselves who didn't try and save the world with whatever butt-pocalypse fate is coming? Again, I could be wrong about the butt-pocalypse, but I have to admit, I love saying the word butt-pocalypse. Now, in terms of Javan Wade and his comments of what we can expect from Cyborg in Season 4, he goes on to say that there's a journey of him discovering what it means to be Vic's own, battling with finding his superheroism without the powers, and what it means to be a superhero. One, he almost has to step back from all of the shine, glory, and power that he's used to from being the superhero, from flying that flag. He's now in a place where he's not really himself, doesn't really feel like the savior or help he can be, so he has to find a new way to help. How do you help a superhero team if you're not a superhero? And he's having to find himself within that, and also gets to a place where he realizes that the superhero within him is not about the superpower, but the mentality and the mindset is what makes him a superhero, and wanting to protect and serve, and wanting to do everything in his power to still risk his life without all of those cybernetics and put himself in danger. The place that we go to, the things that we amount to the things that we do, is no space for someone who doesn't have that cybernetic power. And just the pure might and pure willpower of wanting to protect and serve has Vic in all of these situations, and finding a way to be a hero without all of that cybernetic glory. Then he goes on stage just, ultimately finding himself, finding a lot of fun, and really connecting with what it means to be a black man in Detroit, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy that journey with him. And for example, in this trailer, we see him like seemingly hanging out with some friends, so we might get to see an episode or two, or more possibly, with Vic just kind of hanging out, like as he says, as a human, finding joy in that, exploring a bit more of his personal connections with other friends out there, which maybe he couldn't really do so much as Cyborg, as we've seen in other seasons where people just looked at him as, hey, you're Cyborg. So now he's got to explore that, which I'm sure is going to be awesome to him, to live a little bit more of a normal life. But then it's like, oh wait, how can I contribute to being a superhero within a superhero Doom Patrol or Doom Force team? So I'm really looking forward to that. Javan Wade does a fantastic Vic Stone, Cyborg, and just like every character, there's so much depth there to his story. I feel like they nailed that last season, especially in that discussion with Frenzy, with the Brotherhood of Dada, that episode towards the end where we got that kind of introspective version of where the Doom Patrol saw their own selves. So again, can't wait for more of this season. But later on in the teaser, it seems like we get another look at this fight with Madame Rouge, Cliff, and Rita facing the Butts. Now we can see that Rita is destroying one of them, and Cliff kicks one of them in the arse, and a little bit of escape of air can be heard as the Butt launches off. But what does Brendan Fraser have to say coming out of New York Comic Con? So he said that the beauty of Doom Patrol for me is that they're misfits and they found each other, and they're an unconventional family whether they like it or not, and they need one another as much as they don't want to admit it. Cliff didn't have such a good start in his life. He was kind of a jerk in season 1, and I seriously question if he really won all those race car races fair and square. But hubris and all, he crashed his car and his brain got stuck in a robot. So his quest, as I've always seen it, is for Cliff to become a better human than he ever was, as a robot, which is poetic in a way. And I think we'll see in season 4 that he does get a chance to reconcile with his daughter, with his grandson. It's his quest really, just to become a better man, although he's a robot. So stay tuned and let's see what happens. So again here, and I almost feel like I shouldn't have to say this, deeply looking forward to Brendan Fraser coming back as Cliff Steele, the continuation of his journey, and ultimately transition, or should I say evolution, of Cliff Steele becoming a better person and reconnecting with his family, which we have seen big chunks of course, but more so, and as he teased here, reconciliation with his daughter, now grandson. Of course, I'm really looking forward to seeing what interaction he has with Diane Guerrero, but except now we have Dr. Harrison, so is he going to be trying to press her to talk to Jane? But next, in this shot, we see someone getting kicked here. We have other people on the floor. I'm wondering if this is around the episodes of when we see the Denizens, because here, I don't know if you noticed, but we can see Dorothy in the bottom left of this shot. Now, later on in the trailer, we see Dorothy in a car and with a brand new character. And some of you may recognize this character because we actually had it teased a while ago from an in-episode shot, and it is none other than Casey Brink, of whom is being played by Madeline Zima. I butcher names, I do apologize. But Casey Brink is essentially a superhero character that Danny the Ambulance created as a part of their comic book, if you will. So she went by the name of Space Case, but essentially she more or less gets generated into real life, which allows her to live a normal life. So I assume that Casey will be hanging around with the Dannysons and perhaps in turn Dorothy. The last we saw of Dorothy is when she went off with the Dead Boy Detectives during season 3, but I assume since, they're getting their own show, Dorothy went back to Danny the Ambulance, bumps into Casey, who potentially has been brought to life, if you will, recently, and considering that Dorothy can also have her imaginary creations be brought to life, like the Candlemaker and many other characters that we saw last season, she might be quite a good pairing for Casey to be integrated into the real world, if you will, and perhaps Dorothy introduces Casey to the Doom Patrol. So if there's any fans of the source material here, I'm sure you'll be very happy hearing that Casey is on her way to Doom Patrol Season 4. Michelle Gomez also gave away at the panel that, it's not a huge spoiler, but when they were talking about who's the best dancer, she said that Abby Monterey is probably one of the best dancers on the cast, and there's a bit of a solo dance coming from Dorothy this season, which I'm looking forward to. Perhaps this is going to be with a bunch of Dannysons. I could easily see that. Now, there's some other fairly ambiguous shots, if you will, that I'm not too familiar with these characters, so if you have any suggestions, let me know your theories down in the comments. But here, this particular character seems to have a glowing chest. So perhaps another person housing a negative spirit, perhaps, and the very next shot is Larry getting blasted back. So, considering that they're cut together, that could mean something more significant here. Here we get another new character. To be honest, I have absolutely no idea who this is. Now here we have Diane Guerrero. Now, I'm not sure if this is Jane or Kay Chalice smoking here. Now, the reason why I think it could be Kay is because of the get-up, if you will. It's not so crazy Jane. Plus, Kay was getting a bit edgier last season as she was growing up. So perhaps this is a shot in the underground of Kay taking over. Could be Jane, though. Would love your ideas. Now, up next, we get a shot of this boy here, and everyone seems to be in a little bit of medieval get-up. And something comes out of this cute little fluff ball here onto the boy's face, and it kind of dispels Kipling's illusion. I love it whenever Mark Sheppard comes back into the show. I think he's a tremendous talent and he really belongs in this show. And to be honest, I want to campaign for more episodes with Kipling. So whatever we get of Kipling, and this looks pretty funny from what we're seeing, can't wait to see more of this. Near the end of the trailer, we hear Madame Rouge, I think, saying to Cliff, "Do you want to go save the world?" Now, speaking of Madame Rouge out of New York Comic Con, we have Michelle Gomez saying in season 4 is about for Madame Rouge kind of living in a gray area, the nuance between good and bad, and her swimming about in that for a bit, trying to do the next right thing. And I think she gets infected by Rita's goodness. And anybody that we love, we want to be our best version of ourselves for that person. And so she goes on to say that she loves Rita, and then also says that Rouge's naughtiness seems to liberate Rita a little bit. So we're kind of each other's flip of the coin. And also I love what Brendan's saying as well. We're all just trying to do our best, all of us. We're all just trying to be as good as we can be. Some days you don't want to be that, but mostly we're just trying to come together. Especially today, it's no bad thing to live in the nuance of the conversation now and not be so polarized. So I feel like Doom Patrol, in a strange way, somewhat reflects that back on us, where we're at today as a community. Now up next, we get a shot at possibly the Doom Patrol trying to work as a practicing superhero team here, with Rita saying action, and they're against none other than Codpiece here, which is just a hilarious character in of himself. As you can see, that he has all kinds of devices and actually a weapon down in the Codpiece area, if you know what I mean. So this is it's going to be hilarious to see. I'm not going to lie, I don't think there could be a more perfect addition of a character to enter Doom Patrol Season 4 other than what you're seeing on screen right here. And that more or less, I think, ends the teaser trailer. So let me know, what did you think of this teaser trailer? all the comments coming out of New York Comic Con, the plot teasers, the character teasers, and any theories and ideas that you personally have for what the Doom Patrol could be up to this season. Do you agree with my theory of the butt apocalypse that is coming our way? Would really appreciate a share of this video, maybe on Twitter or whatever social media you use. Of course, a like goes a long way as well. Do consider subscribing if you are brand new here. Links, as always, are in the description down below, but I am signing off now. I'm gonna love you and leave you, so thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you fellow Doomies in the next video. Goodbye.